Conor, just give us a little bit of the background to this case and why there's been such a big political row about it.
Yeah, huge political row, huge ongoing row here in Scotland, trying to answer that question. How does the justice system deal with prisoners who self-identify as women? And that is something that the First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, has been taking questions on in the last few minutes. This case centres around a double rapist who attacked two women while they were known as Adam Graham a number of years ago. And they made the decision to transition while awaiting trial in that criminal case. And they're now known as Isla Bryson. And they are controversially being held in Scotland's all-female prison Cornton Vale in the Stirlingshire area. The Scottish Conservatives, in that pretty feisty exchange in Edinburgh in the last few minutes, described Isla Bryson as a beast, and they said that Isla Bryson should not be kept in that women's environment where other women are being incarcerated at the moment. Now, we are told that Isla Bryson is in segregation at this moment in time, is not within the general prison population, but that has not stopped the questions, and certainly the response from Nicola Sturgeon has been clear. She said, I don't know how it's possible for a rapist to be in a female prison. That was a sentiment that she agreed with. That was something that charities were saying over the course of the last few days. And quite crucially, Nicola Sturgeon was clear that Isla Bryson will not continue to be incarcerated in a women's prison here in Scotland, will not continue to be housed at Cornton Vale, Scotland's all-female prison. It's unclear, I think, at this stage exactly where Isla Bryson will go. And, of course, it opens up further questions about what happens with the rest of Scotland's trans population. We're just showing you an image here of Adam Graham, who carried out these attacks when they were known as Adam Graham. There are 15 trans people in Scotland's prisons at this stage. To put that in context, there's a wider population of around 7,000 prisoners. Now, the Scottish Prison Service has been clear throughout the course of this that they make these decisions on where each and every prisoner should be held on a case-by-case basis, and a risk assessment is carried out during the course of that process. Now, Nicola Sturgeon has said that that risk assessment is underway, but she was clear that Isla Bryson's time at Cornton Vale is coming to an end, and is coming to an end pretty fast. They are due to be sentenced here in Scotland for those two rapes, those two sex attacks on very vulnerable women a number of years ago in the Clydebank area, due to be sentenced in February. The question is whether the wider policy of the Scottish Prison Service dealing with these cases on a case-by-case basis is open to a wider legal challenge. Will the policy now change going forward for anyone who makes the decision to transition from male to female or from male to female in that situation? Now, of course, this feeds into a wider debate, a wider discussion here in Scotland at the moment around gender reforms. Of course, you will remember that there was a pretty fiery debate just before Christmas where Scotland decided to change and make it easier for people to change their legally recognised gender, lowering that to the age of 16. Elsewhere in the UK, someone can legally change their gender when they are 18. There have been widespread criticism of that policy from Westminster politicians, the Prime Minister, the Scottish Secretary attempting to block that from becoming law here in Scotland. That's a row that is continuing to rumble on. But let's now hear from Scotland's First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, in that exchange in the Scottish Parliament in the last few minutes.
Firstly, in general, any prisoner who poses a risk of sexual offending is segregated from other prisoners, including during any period of risk assessment. Secondly, there is no automatic right for a trans woman convicted of a crime to serve their sentence in a female prison, even if they have a gender recognition certificate. Every case is subject to rigorous individual risk assessment, and as part of that, the safety of other prisoners is paramount. Finally, in general terms, and perhaps most importantly, I heard the Chief Executive of Rape Crisis Scotland say this yesterday: I don't see how it's possible to have a rapist within a female prison. And so let me be very clear. I agree with that statement. And bearing in mind what I've just said about the importance of individualised risk assessment as a general principle and presumption, I think that statement is correct.